Oh, thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Vulnerability Time. I am your host and published author, Josias Abriel. Well, let me say my full name. Josias Tharolius Epison Abriel. Love that. First, middle, and last. Hebrew and Greek. We love it. It's unique. It stands out. So this is something that needs to be talked about. I believe that the title of this episode is going to be something like, "It's not what it looks like," or "It's not what you think it looks like." #suicide awareness. It's going to be one of those things. So this is going to be a really, really, really quick episode, but it's important that it be talked about. So what does that title mean? So fun fact, and this is something that I learned, and I've suffered with depression a majority of my life, and I mean severe depression. Like, take a bottle of pills and hop out of this earth, type severe. However, years ago, and by years ago, I mean probably I think maybe 4 or 5 years from now. 4 or 5 years now it's been, that I learned that most people who are depressed are not suicidal. Interesting, right? I did not know that until 4 or 5 years ago. And so it's depression does not always coincide with suicide and vice versa. It can be an either or it can be an and. So it's it could be suicide and depression, or it can just be suicide or depression. It's basically saying one or the other is not exclusive from each other, and they're not inclusive of each other. So does that make sense? So pretty much, I'm getting all tongue tied. So let me make a little bit more sense, for me at least. Just because someone has depression does not mean that they're suicidal. That is so interesting. This is also something that I found out, is that I know people get, and I used to be that until I did extensive research and all that, and experienced depression, and just sat and just shut it in my mouth and listened to people. Sadness and depression, okay, those lines can get blurred, societally speaking. A lot of people can generalize depression as sadness, when they're two different things. Just because some of the symptoms might feel or look the same does not mean that it is the same. Trust me, our body and our brains can definitely tell the difference. We might not be able to right off the bat, but our bodies and our brains, they know the difference between an emotion and a mental illness. The brain knows. The brain is way too powerful. It knows more than we know. It remembers every single thing. Now, we forget, but our brain does not forget. Look that up. That is actually true. Scary and beautiful at the same time. Okay, I'm gonna be vulnerable. I think it's scary as hell. I was like, wow. For those of us who's experienced way too much trauma, that is just ridiculous. Just why does it have to remember? But at the same time, it's protection. Our brain loves us enough to try to protect this. There we go. How about that? But anyways, so something that I learned is, I already knew this, but I had an epiphany, is that, sadness is an emotion. However, depression, it's different because it's mind, it's mental. It is coming from a different, it has a different place, a different root. It's coming from a different root. Now, the limbs and the leaves on the tree may look the same. Many trees can look the same but be completely different trees. we look at the leaves and be like, oh, that tree looks like that tree, when they're actually two completely different trees. They might just look alike. See, there's that tree of sadness, and then there's that tree of depression. So, but the thing is, like, they're two different things, because the root is not sadness. When it comes to depression, the root is not sadness. And we can apply that to just mental illness in general. And so the point that I'm getting at is someone can be happy, because happy is an emotion. There's emotion and then there's mental. Okay? Someone can be happy and still be suicidal. I'm raising my hand. Someone could be happy and still be depressed. That is possible. Multiple realities can be true at once. 2 + 2 = 4. 6 - 2 = 4. 5 + 5 = 10. See, like, they all those things look different, but just because they look different based off who you're speaking to does not mean that it is not true. So that's something that I had to learn, and believe it or not, something I had to learn recently in my life. And by recently, I mean probably like the past, 5-6 years. That reality, that epiphany of multiple things can be true at once. Just because I don't believe something does not mean it's not true. The world does not cater to my beliefs, my biases, or what I think I know. It just doesn't. But someone can be sad and not depressed at the same time. Someone can be sad and depressed at the same time. Because a lot of times it's not really sadness, it's depression. I'm not saying that for everybody. I'm just saying, we get the lines intertwined when, we're experiencing the symptoms of sadness when it's really just depression. So what I'm saying is there's multiple combinations. Someone could be sad but not depressed. Someone can be depressed but not sad. Someone can be happy and depressed. Someone can be happy and suicidal. That's where I'm getting at is you don't have to be sad you don't have to be depressed to be suicidal. Suicidal doesn't look like tears all the time. Depression doesn't look like tears all the time. Sometimes it looks like a smile on the face. Many people look happy, and that is a actual reality. They are happy in that moment. They are experiencing that emotion of happiness. However, the mental is so much more powerful. So humans, we're better at seeing emotion, because emotion is more external. It's more what you can see on the outside, whereas opposed to mental is more internal. So it's we right off the bat, we don't recognize that. We don't see that. We see emotion. We see a smile. We see happiness, whether that person is faking it or not. There is a smile. So what I'm saying is, someone could be suicidal right now, but they are so happy. They are so happy, and then boom, they can leave tomorrow. Someone could be speaking on this podcast and be happy, but also be suicidal. I'm talking about myself, obviously. Y'all know I suffer from suicidal ideations. That's just been a thing. Thanks, trauma. Fun fact, suicidal ideations, it's just a mental illness response. It also is a form of survival for the body. I'll get into that in another episode when, suicidal can be a form of survival. Because it's just our body's attempt of trying to gain peace that should be ours to begin with. Anyways, let me not get into that spiel, because I want this to be a short episode. The point of this episode is it does not always look like what it is. It just doesn't. And we can apply that statement, that principle, that concept to many things in life. It is not always what it looks like. It is not always as it seems. Judging the book by the cover. The cover can be so beautiful. So beautiful, but the pages are weary. They're worn. Those pages have words of anguish and agony on it. Those pages are crying out for help. But that's not what we see instantly, right? We see happiness and we see a smile, or we see tears, and we're gonna, society, it's just easier for us to spot emotion rather than the mental, because the mental is internal. You got to be around and get to know that person, because it's impossible to read a book just by looking at it. You know what I mean? In order to know about the book, you got to obviously look at the cover, and then you got to read. We can apply that to people. We can apply that to people. What if they aren't happy? Well, what if they are happy, but that's not the only truth, a part of that story. So what I'm saying is society, obviously society is getting better about it now, but obviously society has come a long way. Mental illness started to be a stigma around, I believe, days where Alexander Hamilton was alive. I don't know. Let me not get into all that, because I don't know that for sure. I just know that there was a point where certain things got shunned. It's very significant. It's really interesting. And I'm just like, wow, all y'all ancestors suck. I was just like, all y'all suck. All you previous humans back in the 17th century, y'all suck. But then it's just like they didn't know no better, whatever. But something where we see on the movies, right? We see someone crying. We associate that with sadness. Let's see, a random person in public. When we see someone crying, we can associate that with sadness. But in reality it's actually just tears of joy. We just don't know, because we're just seeing the cover of that book. And I mean, and it's not saying that that's a bad thing. I mean, we have eyes, we're gonna see whatever, and we're just gonna, make assessments based off of that. That's part of the brain's survival. So it's just like we're gonna see and assess things. I just think it is important in this day and age to remember, because suicide rates are increasing, folks. It is important to remember that there's possibly more to the book, and that we can't see the internal. We can only see the external. We can only see that surface level, when really all the substance is in the ground underneath the surface. The surface is oftentimes just the first thing that we see. We don't dig and see what's really going on. Are they really happy? Are they really joyful? Are they really sad? Are they depressed? Like, what is it? Is it either or? Is it and? Is it, are there multiple realities true at the same time? Someone can be happy, sad, and depressed, and suicidal all at the same time. The human body is extremely complex. Yes, apparently there are certain aspects of the brain that scientists or neurologists, whatever word that is, I'm getting tongue twisted. Apparently, there are still certain things about the brain that we still don't understand. Rightfully so. The brain is extremely way too complex. Have y'all tried researching the brain? Oh my gosh, it'll make your brain hurt. I was just like, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This explains a lot, but also, wow, this is a lot. I was like, wow, wow, okay, that's interesting. So the point of this episode is that it doesn't always look like, I mean, the reality is not always what we see. It's just, not every book looks like its cover. And I was looking at the statistics of suicides in America, and in the UK, but I'm gonna start with America first. So there are more women in America than men. Excuse me. There are more female born than male born. Because let's be honest, folks. If you disagree, y'all can Google this. What I'm about to say. Gender is a man-made construct. There is technically no gender. Literally Google the difference between biological sex and gender. So I'm just gonna throw that out there, So, I mean, over the centuries, different cultures also identified with different quote-unquote genders. It is just a societal, cultural thing. So technically it does not exist. It is a man-made construct. So I'm going to respect everybody and just say, male born and female born. Why? Because there needs to be space for everybody. I don't want to just put an assigned on someone. I just don't want to do that because I did my own research and looking into it. It is a man-made construct. It literally is. It just makes us uncomfortable to talk about that because we're just taught a different way, and when what we're taught is challenged, it can become uncomfortable. So, just go ahead and research that, folks. Don't beat yourself up if that is something that's uncomfortable for you. It's okay. But anyways, getting back to the point, is that there are more biological females than there are biological males in the country of America. However, males make up 72 to 78% of the suicides in America. So on average, that is 75% of suicides in America are males. Mr. Tough Guy is really suffering on the inside. I just wish society can get to a place where it just completely demolishes all stigma when it comes to mental health. It's just ridiculous. And apparently, the suicide rate, it's increasing. I would not be shocked that, I think I read something that said, within the next 10 years, we will see, it's projected that male suicides will be in the 80% range. I'm just that is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I was there's not even that much men in this country compared to, women. So I'm just wow. So the point of the matter is the cover can look so strong, but be suffering on the inside. Society can tell this book what it should have on a cover. You should be this. You're a man. You shouldn't cry. You this and you that. You know what I mean? And I'm just yeah, that stigma contributes to suicide. So I just think we got to get to a place, society. I would love for society to get to a place where mental illness and just the understanding of it and the complexity of it just no longer has any stigma. Because that it's ridiculous. I was oh my gosh, humans also make it worse for humans. I know humans heal humans, but humans also hurt humans. Humans also harm humans. Humans also help humans. So I'm we have the potential as a human race. We have a potential, but are we gonna do it? I think we're very long off from that because we are still learning things from compared to us now, a toxic generation or toxic times, so they're bringing on a lot of what they learned, even though it was a lot of misinformation. They're bringing that on to us. Even though I'm so proud of this newer generation, my generation, Gen Z. I barely made it into Gen Z, but I'm still technically a Gen Z because I was born in 97. Gen Z starts in 96. But I am really proud, though. The fact that more people are able to, speak about mental illness, it's more validated. Let's see. The fact that we even have statistics, okay, it just shows that we are learning more. So check on your strong friends. Check on the people that say, oh, I'm fine. You know what I like to do sometimes? And there's a time and a place to do this. But what I like to do sometimes is I ask them how they're doing. I just say, hey, how are you doing? You know how we just say that, right? Hey, how are you doing? And they say, great. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Now, how are you honestly doing? I have to go that extra mile. I want the people to feel like this is a space to be honest, because we are humans. Listen, we are humans. I wish I was doing fine all the time. I wish, and that, yeah, so... it's okay to be human, folks. It's okay to be human. There is a difference between emotions and mental. There is a complete difference. Whether, society wants to recognize that or not, there is a difference. Someone can be happy and suicidal. Both can be true. You don't have to be sad to be suicidal. You don't have to be depressed to be suicidal. You don't have to, be sad in order to cry. It's just things like that. So these were just on my mind, and I was like, let me just share this with the world, because as y'all know, the root of the whole Vulnerability Time podcast, one of the main starting factors is to save lives. Someone could be on their way home right now to take their life with a gun. And they are not a bad person. This is the thing. I learned, and I don't know if this is everyone's reality, but I do know that this is a lot of realities that we don't see. It's what I'm about to say now. Suicide oftentimes is the last resort, not the first resort. So, I've been judged before, people saying, oh, well, you're a quitter. I'm like, actually, that's not true for a lot of people. A lot of people have just been strong for way too long. They were the ones who didn't quit the longest, who fought and fought and fought. However, not every battle leaves you stronger if there's no rest. You're going to a gym and working out muscles. You're getting stronger when it hurts, sure. But what if life doesn't let you put those weights down? See, when you go work out at a gym and you're working out those muscles, your body's gonna start to hurt. Things are tearing. But, and that's good short term, but you gotta put the weights down and take a rest. You gotta let the body recover. If you just keep on and never just letting it down, just keep on lifting weights for 25 hours straight with no rest or recovery, oh no, that doesn't make the muscles stronger. So we gotta also, look at things like that too. Not every battle is going to make someone stronger. And this is a human body, the human mind, when it's being beaten, it does not need a lecturer. It needs a listener. It needs a hug. It needs someone to come along and say, you don't have to do this alone. How can I help you? How can I best be here for you? You are hurting. You've been fighting on your own for so long. Folks, if we could just go back to the caveman days, we can actually see how to human. Okay? See, humans were never meant to do things on our own. We were just not. We were not. I know today's society glorifies independence and, oh, you got to do this. Who cares if an army of people, caused you trauma? You got to be the one. You. And I was like, why does it have to be just the you? We don't have all the tools as an individual. You might have tools that I don't have, and vice versa. Why can't we do this together? Why can't we help each other? I think we need to build a time machine and go back in time to be reminded how to actually be humans. I feel like if cavemans could, comprehend what humans are today, I think they would be sorely disgusted. This whole, oh, everyone has to be independent mindset. And now it's stigmatized to ask for help. And now it's stigmatized to be dependent. as if that's like a bad thing. I was just like, no, what if you're just a human being and humans need humans? If that weren't the case, then solitary confinement wouldn't damage the body. Did y'all know loneliness destroys the brain over time? In solitary confinement, that basically means it's like a prison punishment when they lock someone away from everyone else and it's just themselves in that cell and they're all alone. They go insane, literally insane. Insanity is a legal term, by the way. So let that soak in of how bad it gets. They're not quote unquote crazy. That's not a legal term. Insane is a legal term. That word holds so much power and merit in the court. That is a legal term. That term is no joke. That term packs some power. You know, if the humans were meant to be alone, you know, our bodies wouldn't respond the way it would if we were alone. But it's stigmatized to reach out for help. I know people say too much of anything can be bad. Yeah, 1000%. But that doesn't apply to every situation in that season that it's in. What if someone just lost their parent and they have no other strength or no other choice but to be dependent for a couple months on someone? That is okay. With different seasons of our lives, shows we can bring out different strengths in our lives. And sometimes strength looks different. Sometimes it takes strength to have the courage in order to lean on someone and say, I need help. I can't do this on my own. Because the thing is, you shouldn't have to do it all on your own. Unfortunately, there are times in life where, we're gonna have to. There's no other choice. However, there's a lot of times that we just can do it on our own, but that does not mean that we have to do it on our own. That does not mean. So, cavemen would be sorely disgusted of what this whole toxic independence has come to. I truly do think that part of the stigma of mental illness is that toxic independent mindset. We gotta be honest. If we're gonna actually be human, if we're gonna be vulnerable, we are humans. If we could do it all on our own, we would not need each other to have a device to listen to this podcast on. It took multiple minds, though we give credit to just one mind. Oh, Steve Jobs made the iPhone. No. It was a multitude of people. It was a whole factory. People came together to make some iPhones. So what I'm saying is, if humans can do it on our own, then everyone needs to go to a separate planet and live by themselves. And I guarantee you, we will see. We can't do it on our own. We were literally never meant to do it on our own. Literally, the human body and the human brain, I'm not even joking, research this, is literally wired for community. It's literally not wired for solitude. So it's like when people are lonely, it is such a battle because it's not a part of what we're wired to do. And so that just sucks because it's like, I don't know. I'm getting off topic now, but going back to the cavemen being disgusted with us, yes, we need to go back to them so we can see how to actually be human and be there for each other. Because if we're separate, the only thing that we can do when we're separate is see a book cover. Now, if we're together, we're spending time with each other, we're talking, we're getting to know one another, you know what I mean? And it's hard. I have social anxiety and I'm an introvert. So it's hard. I'm not saying that. I'm not applying this to necessarily every single situation. But this can apply to many situations. What I'm about to say is, we gotta be in community to open up that book together. Because separately, all I'm seeing is the cover. I'm not seeing what's going on the inside. Because I'm just like, okay, I'm dependent. I'm thinking you're dependent. I'm seeing what I'm seeing externally on the outside. You're smiling. Good for you. And really, this person might go home and that be the last time that they are on this earth. So it's important to recognize, one, we need each other. I'm tired of the stigma. There is a such thing as toxic independence. That's disgusting. It really freaking is. It really is. It just, that's not how humans are supposed to be wired. And it just literally does a lot of damage to the brain. Y'all should see a brain that has experienced community versus a brain that has experienced loneliness and isolation. It is significantly smaller. I had the unfortunate reality of, what did I say? The reality? I had the unfortunate experience to see what a 3-year-old child's brain looks like with community versus without community. And it was very horrific. It was very horrifying seeing that brain scan of that child. Like, that's disgusting. Like, a healthy brain is bigger, but a lonely, neglected brain was so small. I was like, wow, people can literally die from loneliness. They literally can die from loneliness. Fun fact. The point is, we need each other. Not everything is how it looks on the outside. Suicide is real. You can be happy and be sad at the same time. You can be happy and be depressed. You can be happy and suicidal. You can be sad and suicidal. You can be depressed and suicidal. You can be all these things at the same time. That is a reality. Just be encouraged and reminded that you don't have to do it on your own. Okay? It's okay to be dependent. It's okay to ask for help. I'm telling you, you are worth the love and the support and the healing. You are worth it. Whoever I'm talking to, you are worth it. You are worth it enough for someone to come alongside you, or for you to reach out and say, I need help. Wow. That is an act of self-love as well, for those of us who's big in self-love and stuff like that. And then also know that not every cover that looks glamorous, that doesn't mean the book is glamorous. We gotta recognize, folks, this reality that, someone could be the happiest, but they may want to be the one that wants to die the most in the room. So it's an important reality. With that being said, this has been another episode of Vulnerability Time. See you whatever episode that will be next. Oh yeah, Cody's episode is coming out. I had to take a little pause from uploading the podcast, but I resume back in a few days. But I'm sure by the time you hear this episode, what I just said about me having to pause it won't be relevant anymore, because I'm releasing the rest of the episodes February 1st. But by the time you hear this, it might be way past February 1st. So, well, yes, we love that. Go into a time machine. We love it, love it, love it. Alrighty, with that being said, this has been another episode of Vulnerability Time. I am your host and published author, Josiah Starolius Epizan Gabriel.